All right, here we go again with another my favorite Autmog pens. I know this must be driving Brian absolutely crazy that every few months I come up with another variant of his that becomes my favorite. And of course, I have my justification for my preferences. And that's mostly because things change so frequently for me, whether I'm out rucking or I'm day to day or I'm at work. All of these carries require a different way for me to take my everyday items with me, and thus some pens and knives or key setup all work differently based on the activities that I'm doing. Nonetheless, this pen has emerged as my absolute favorite and will be the only Autmog that I end up keeping in my collection after, I don't know, maybe about 20 to 22 variants that I've tried. Now, this one has this one right here, and we're going to get into it very shortly. But this one, no matter how much I hinted at and almost begged a little bit, just could not get it to be mine. So, buddy of mine, nice enough to lend it to me for a couple weeks to put through its paces and try out. But ultimately, it is getting packaged up and getting sent back tomorrow in the mail. But let's get into the specifics and why these work for me now. So this is a 36. It is an EnerGel refill length. I'm using the EnerGel LRN5 in both pens. It is titanium. This one has a step nose. Now, for me, one, having a clip has always been vital, integral, because for the most part, day to day, especially during the work week, I am hooking my pen onto a lanyard. That recently has changed as I encountered finding a in the pocket slip that has worked wonders with also carrying either a little pry bar, my tiny little moleskin notebook, or the Magnus side click utility knife. So that's been a different option on a way to carry, and also have utilized the hang key from Magnus to put my keys on my hip, on my waistband, on the hip, or an appendix carry for my keys. So that kind of removed the lanyard. Anyway, it's just a lot of tinkering that I do, because what else are we going to do with our gear? Tinker with it, see what works. Now, contrast, this is a 39, also EnerGel. It is utilizing the same exact refill. However, this has a cone nose. Now, about a year ago, I tracked down what I thought was probably the end all be all for me. It was a 40, which is pretty much my go to diameter. It was a cone nose, which is what I love so much about this design. It was clipped, and it was also tapered, which was pretty cool. Had a little taper here where the diameter decreased as it went towards the tip, went towards the clip. But I didn't love the refill. I was going back and forth between Jetstream and Catco and just didn't love the refill. So therefore, I just had enough of it and sent it on its way. Coming into these EnerGel refills, I've really been enjoying them. They've been pretty fantastic. And then using the 36 day in and day out, I said, okay, it might be a touch too narrow on the diameter. And do I really, is the step nose really for me? So, okay, what's the next option? Find something a little thicker in diameter with the cone nose, and then that's what leads you to only settle on the 39. Now, good luck trying to find one. I only know of two, maybe a third out of the United States, but that's not something that I've been able to confirm. So I only know of two in the States. One is just not going to be an option. This one really wasn't an option, but at least it was one that I could float out there for a possibility of making it mine, or at least, at the very least, getting this opportunity to spend some time with it. What has also transpired because of good dude over at TDM Engineering, is we can replace these balls with, in this case, we're going with the ruby ball, which definitely does not get, I can't tell in my monitor if it's doing it justice in this picture, but certainly in the thumbnail you can see that the ruby is just a super cool addition or modification. And when I put it in here, I said, wow, this makes it just a tiny bit different. Ruby is my birthstone, so that is a super cool symbolic node to my birthstone. And then I figured, well, in appreciation for letting me borrow the 39, we might as well go and get ourselves another ruby and surprise you when you open it up and get it back, that you now have yourself a cool little ruby insertion there for retracting the mechanism. So all in all, I mean, I've probably done more videos on Autmogs than any other maker, just because it was a frenzy for me to try and find one I like. He just makes, Brian makes a ton of models. I think there's over 200 variants. He does not, from my understanding, ever really go back and revisit a previous model once he runs through the material or the design idea. He moves on to challenge himself with something else. So once these are out, they're out. It's almost impossible to get them from him. I would say it is impossible to get them from him. So good luck on the secondary. And these are not easy to acquire. Cash really isn't going to get the job done. You have to have something in trade, and then what are you going to trade that's going to command or entice somebody to move off of their Autmog? It's only going to be a handful of pens that would do that, and those are going to hold the same kind of trade value and the same kind of difficulty acquiring. Now, if you were lucky enough to be around a couple of years ago or a few years ago, which I was not, you may have been able to acquire a handful of these other pens, or even additional or multiples or additional pens from Brian, because a few years back you could easily have bought them on the website. When they were released, there was no frenzy. They didn't sell out immediately. There wasn't a 345X premium put on the resale. So some people certainly can dig through their drawers and pull out a very rarely seen variant and may be able to trade for it, or other makers, if they have had the opportunity to get them at drop. But for me, just kind of putting a bookend on the Autmog search, I'm certainly looking forward to something new that Brian puts out, especially if it has a clip and it's in titanium, and some of the other factors are appealing. But if not, I've definitely had a fun time exploring all of the very rarely seen Autmogs that are out in the wild, from titanium to aluminum to bronze, to the different materials and the mechanisms, the different nose aspects, the different refill aspects. Some had grip lines, some had tapers. Certainly can look through some historical videos on this channel to look at the evolution of what I once thought was my grail to maybe I just don't have a grail. I just don't think I have a grail for any pen. I enjoy them. They're a tool. Some I use more than others. The ones that I don't use, I try to find a home for them where somebody will put them to use and enjoy them more than them just sitting at my desk. But in any event, that's where we're at. These would be, as of today, my two favorite Autmogs ever made for fit, feel, finish, refill, and attention to detail. I have nothing negative to say. All of his products are phenomenal. However, it's what you, the individual, are looking for, and that's what makes these hobbies of everyday carry fun. We're looking for things that either solve problems or are an enjoyment that we get out of carrying them every day, and how we carry them is certainly individual to each one of us. But anyway, that's that for this one. I hope my buddy enjoys his little surprise of the ruby insert. I really enjoy mine. That's all I got for this one. You guys have a good one. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.